Hi everyone, and welcome to TWF, Thursday Night Impact, or HIT. Joey Styles, with Joey Styles with Jonathan Coachman and Aiden English. And today on Thursday Night Impact, or Thursday Night HIT, we're going to talk about what happened yesterday on Dynamite or Might. Yesterday on Dynamite or Might, if we can think back to what happened on that show yesterday or not, you know, you know. Well, yesterday it was a good show yesterday on Dynamite or Might, and the match that happened, Taz was talking about how it was so unfair. How Xia Li beat Johnny Gargano, and how Johnny Gargano thought he had to run and lead, and sadly he did not, Joey Styles said. You got that right, Jonathan Coachman says. Sadly, at the end of the day, Johnny Gargano is not the TWF 24/7 fighter, even though in his mind he thought he was. But Xia Li beat him, and he wasn't happy with that. I'll tell you right now, Aiden English says, how things are going these days. I know Jimmy Hart, or I think I know Jimmy Hart, and I know Johnny Gargano will get another match for the TWF 24/7 winnings. And that match is going to happen sooner or later. Well, then tell me this again, Then tell me why, if Jimmy Hart's such a great, overseer, then you'd think he'd be wise enough to know that Johnny Gargano cannot beat Xia Li, Joey Styles says. I'll tell you one thing right now, Jonathan Coachman says. I don't think that I think that Jimmy Hart's not that wise, but if he was, he wouldn't keep on doing this shit. Aiden English said Jimmy Hart knows what he's doing. Alright, Jimmy Hart goes, Theodore Long, I need to talk to you right now, baby, because we got to talk about Johnny Gargano getting another match for the TWF, 24/7 winnings. Here comes Theodore Long now. Alright, Jimmy Hart, what do you want to talk about? Theodore Long said, I'm not offshooting from Cody Rhodes' saying, but you wanted me to talk to you. I'm thinking you should give my man, Johnny Gargano, another shot for the TWF 24/7 winnings. Because I know if you give him one more shot, that he'll beat Xia Li, or whatever she's calling herself in TNA. That she'll beat her, and then he'll be that she'll be the TWF. That he'll be the TWF 24/7 fighter. Well, how many times do you want to watch your man lose, Jimmy Hart? Johnny Gargano has already lost at least what? How many times has that been already? 3 times already? And you want him to have another match, for the TWF 24/7 winnings? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Well, alright. Then you're on. But at the end of the day, you're not going to like what's going to happen. What do you mean not going to like what's going to happen? You're not going to like what's going to happen, because if your man, Johnny Gargano, has to fight Xia Li again, and she ends up beating Johnny Gargano again, this is the last time. What do you mean it's the last time? It is the last time. Oh, it's Xia Li. Haha, Theodore Long just gave my man Johnny Gargano another match for the TWF 24/7 winning Xia Li. So tell me, how do you feel about that? How do I feel about that? I feel like just beating up Johnny Gargano again. You know, like I did so many times before. You know. Well, okay, I'll leave it to you two. Well, it looks like Jimmy Hart got his match, and it looks like Johnny Gargano gets to fight, gets to fight Xia Li one more time for the TWF 24/7 winnings. That a lot of folks either loved or hated, Joey Styles says, when WWE had a 24/7 winnings that ran from 29 between YL until 2022 YL though. Well, John and Coachman said we now got Varia in the ring now, and we'll see how this match plays out. This match is for the TWF 24/7 winnings. First, with his overseer, Jimmy Hart. He is Johnny Gargano, and she is the TWF 24/7 fighter, Xia Li. Ding, ding, ding. Well, here comes Johnny Gargano, just knocked down Xia Li, Joey Styles says. Xia Li's in a bind right now, and she has had the TWF 24/7 winnings on and off since coming to the Toy Wrestling Gathering at the end of 2023 YL. Johnny Gargano right now, thinking he's got the upper hand on Xia Li. Jonathan Coachman says Johnny Gargano has at least been a two-time WWE Tag Team Fighter, a one-time WWE NXT Tag Team Fighter. He is also a one-time WWE NXT Heavyweight Fighter and a three-time WWE NXT North Vinlander Fighter. So yes, he has won straps in his time in WWE on NXT, Raw, or SmackDown. Aiden English says Xia Li is going to be in a bind now because Jimmy Hart always has winners. I mean, yes, Earthquake and Typhoon, former WWE Tag Team Fighters. The Nasty Boy, former WWE Tag Team Fighters. The Mountie, the Lockkeeper. Or even the Rujo Brothers, former WWE Tag Team Fighters, I mean, they're Land Body Fighters. He had Hulk Hogan. What the hell? Many other folks have won straps. Well, Jimmy Hart Johnny Gargano coming through. Aiden English says, and Xia Li just knocked down Johnny Gargano. Also known as Johnny Wrestling. Xia Li hit him and down he went, Joey Styles said. Jonathan Coachman said Xia Li knocking out wrestlers in her time in WWE and also in her time in TNA. Aiden English says, you gotta get back up, Johnny Gargano. You can't let Xia Li beat you. Oh! You gotta do something. You can't let this woman from the Folkreich of Eastland beat you, Aiden English says. Wait a minute, Jimmy Hart hit her. Xia Li just hit Jimmy Hart and down he went. And Johnny Gargano just knocked down Xia Li. And the oversight is done at least until the end of this match, Joey Styles says. Johnny Gargano coming back now with his kick. Down goes Xia Li. Johnny Gargano is about to become the TWF 24/7 fighter, Joey Styles said. Jonathan Coachman says, hopefully God smiles down upon, hoping that God smiles down upon him and he becomes a TWF 24/7 fighter, Jonathan Coachman says. Aiden English says, I think Johnny Gargano, hopes that God smiles down upon him. When a 1, 2, 3 happens, Aiden English said, 1, 2, and only a kick out. And Johnny Gargano can understand how Xia Li kicked out, Joey Styles said. That's a hold that puts many men away, Jonathan Coachman says. Do it again. Hit her one more time, Aiden English said. You'll do it. Oh! And Xia Li just knocked down knocked down Johnny Nergato. And now, not only the TWF 24/7 fighter, but the TNA woman heavyweight fighter beats Johnny Nergato, Joey Styles says. 1, 2, 3. Ding ding ding. Here is your winner. Here is your winner. And still, the TWF 24/7 fighter. Xia Li. And Xia Li is still the TWF 24/7 fighter by beating Johnny Nergato here today on Thursday Night Impact or Hit. And Jimmy Hart should learn, that Johnny Nergato should learn, that they're not going to beat Xia Li. At least not from what they're doing, Joey Styles said. Yep, you got that right, Jonathan Coachman said. Jimmy Hart and Johnny Nergato are doing what one would say is madness, doing something over and over again, and hoping that it will shift out unlike. I don't know about that, Joey or Jonathan. The way I look at it, Aiden English says, I believe at the end of the day that Jimmy Hart knows what he's doing. That Johnny Nergato knows what he's doing. They're tiring out Xia Li. And one day, they will get the win. Well, you can think whatever you want to think. But how many beatings are they going to take, in English, before they end up getting that win? Alright, take it away now, Michael Cole. Thank you, Jonathan Coachman. Thank you, Joey Styles and Jonathan Coachman. I'm going to be talking with Xia Li here today on Thursday Night Impact or Hit. Alright, Xia Li, you look like you're still having a bind with Jimmy Hart and Johnny Nergato. Yeah, that's what it looks like, Michael Cole, and that's what's going on. Those two should know by now that they cannot beat me. Those two should know by now that there's no way that they're ever going to beat me. But they're not wise. Jimmy Hart, not wise enough to know he can't win this fight. Johnny Nergato, not wise enough to know he can't win this fighter war. But keeps on coming back. How many times do you think, Michael, that I have to keep on dealing with them until they learn? Well, sadly, there are some folks in this world, Xia Li, that they don't know their yesteryear. And you hear the saying, folks who don't learn from the past are doomed to do it again. Yeah, and also the saying that madness, or one offshoot of madness, is doing something over and over again the same way, and then thinking that it's going to end unlike. And that's where Jimmy Hart and Johnny Nergato make the mistake of thinking if they go to war against me, and they think that every time they do, they think it's going to end the same way for them. But sadly, it does not. Well, that is my talk with Xia Li, the TWF 24/7 fighter. You know, back to you, Joey Styles and Jonathan Coachman. Well, thank you, Michael Cole, for talking with Xia Li here today on Thursday Night Impact or Hit. And that's all the time we got it for Thursday Night Impact or Hit. I, Joey Styles, with Jonathan Coachman and Aiden English. We hope you like Thursday Night Impact or Hit, and we'll see you tomorrow for Friday Night SmackDown.